Am I the asshole for expecting to meet my grandchild? My 42 son, Jay 18, is having a baby with his girlfriend, Kate 18. I will be honest in saying I don't think they are ready for this. They have been together for less than a year, but she is due in July. Obviously I know that things happen, so we are doing our best to embrace it. I'm excited to meet this new little person. Anyways, Kate's family is uninvolved. They honestly weren't great parents to begin with, but when they found out they kicked their pregnant 17-year-old to the streets. My son and her were living with me until 2 weeks ago when they got their first apartment. I am extremely proud of them. We had a room set up for the baby, but since they got their own place, I let them take all the baby items I purchased. I mean a fully furnished nursery, and then of course everything from the shower. That baby isn't going to be wanting for much. Well, the baby is breech. They have tried everything to get that baby to turn, but nothing. So, they have a C-section scheduled for July 3rd. Assuming the baby doesn't flip, she goes into labor. I requested this day off of work, and then asked my son and Kate if they would like me to pick them up or if they planned to have my son drive them. My son was confused and told me that he would drive them. Why would I drive them? I told him I was just offering, and told him I'd be in the waiting room waiting for her to get out of surgery. Then Kate jumped in and said they weren't having any visitors at the hospital. She said she needed time to heal, and they wanted to bond with the baby. She said it would just be the two of them and her sister. I'll admit I was pretty taken aback. I mean, I feel like as the grandparent I'm closer than the aunt, but whatever. I said okay because I didn't want to fight, and said I would be waiting at their house. Kate jumped back in and said the only visitor they would be having was her older sister. She said she would be in pain, bleeding, and trying to breastfeed, and that she wanted privacy to do that. She also said that I never got my TDAP booster, which I don't need as I had it maybe 5 years ago when I had to go to the ER for a cut, so I couldn't come until the baby had its first shots or I got the shot. I pointed out to her if she didn't have a vaginal birth that she wouldn't be bleeding and it would just be a surgery recovery and she could stay in the bedroom and relax and my son could bring her the baby when it's hungry. She told me that nobody was taking her newborn from her. Lots of other things were said, and I feel extremely taken advantage of. I sheltered and provided for her and my son and I didn't have to, plus I gifted them a lot. I now see a lot of other narc tendencies from her, and I feel like it's WWII with my poor boy caught in the middle. I don't feel like an asshole, but she and my son are saying I am. Am I the asshole? Edit to add. 1. I'm a man. 2. I see now that I have been the ass in several ways, so I'm going to just apologize to keep the peace and accept that I'll have to wait. You are the asshole. She is going to be recovering from surgery. If she doesn't want visitors, respect it. You'll see the baby when she's up for visitors. You are the asshole. It's her first child. It will take a lot out of her and your son. If the mother wants no visitors apart from her sister, leave her be. Let them settle with their new baby. If they need help they will ask, and buying them things for the baby does not mean you will be the first person to see the baby. Again, it is down to the mother and father to decide. You are the asshole. The baby won't even remember this, but the mom will remember how you treated her. The baby might be your grandchild, but this is her baby and her birth experience. Don't take this personally, she just wants to have some privacy with her newborn baby. She's told you pretty clearly that she doesn't want you to be there, so you need to respect this. But I do have question. What was the plan if they had not gotten an apartment? Was she planning on having you stay locked up in your room? I see a lot of narc tendencies here too, but they're all coming from you. This is their baby and the birth is not about you and what you want. As the grandparent, you need to step back and give them space to adjust to being new parents and bond with their baby. Give them the support that they request, and don't push your own agenda on them. Again, this is not about you. You are the asshole. Am I the asshole for not inviting my atheist son on our family trip? Throwaway because my son is on Reddit. And #X200B. My wife and I have 6 children: James chapter 28, Jacob 26, Grace 23, Beth 23, Samuel 21 and Sarah 16. We raised them going to church and they were active in youth group and volunteering. 5 of my children are still Christian while Jake became an atheist at 13. And #X200B. While this saddened me, I knew not to force our religion on him. After he told us he didn't believe in God, we had him come to church for a few months until we could work out a plan for him to have him watched while the rest of our family was at church. He said that he was old enough to be left home alone, but we did not agree with that. He almost accidentally burned down our shed a few months prior. Eventually we came to the agreement that he could be left alone, but we had the neighbor keep watch on the house. He resented my wife and me during those 2 months for bringing him to church and further resented us when he heard the neighbor was keeping tabs. He claimed that forcing him to come to church was abusive, even though it was only temporary. And #X200B. His resentment grew more due to our financial situation. The kids always had everything they needed and could join any club they wanted, but we did not have the same luxuries others had. We never went on big trips and Christmas and birthday gifts were usually small, $75. We would give a smaller religious gift to the other children every Christmas and Easter, but he would refuse it. He would argue that we should give him cash instead, and my wife would sometimes because she didn't like arguing. We also couldn't afford college funds. The rest of the kids were given large scholarships by the church due to their volunteering, but Jake didn't since he left 5 years before graduating. And #X200B. Over the last decade, we have been saving up for a pilgrimage to Israel. It has always been a dream for my wife and I to see the holy sites. We announced at Easter that we would pay for everyone's travels and we've all been slowly planning our trip. Jake has constantly been critiquing the trip, which makes my wife cry. We'd talk about seeing the sepulchre and he responds, "It couldn't be the place Jesus was killed and buried." We'll talk about going to Bethlehem and he responds, "King David is just a myth." The final straw was when we were planning to see the walls of Jericho and the baptism site of Christ. He then sent 3 paragraphs about how this entire trip supports an apartheid state and that he'd rather go to Japan. And #X200B. Seeing how ungrateful he was, I cancelled his plane ticket and privately texted him that he was uninvited. He has since posted on Facebook calling my wife and I religious fanatics and saying we are treating him poorly because he is an atheist. He has accused us of being flat earthers, Zionists, and anti-Muslim. Our extended family has urged us to re-invite him, but I can't see how to have an enjoyable trip with him there. And #X200B. Am I the asshole for uninviting my atheist son from our family trip? Not the asshole. He's 26 and not entitled to a trip, and certainly not a trip where he's going to belittle you the entire time. I hope he enjoys Japan with his own money. Regardless him being an atheist. He seems to show he won't be enjoying the trip. You don't have to be a Christian to enjoy the trip. Just being in a different country with different culture is enough to be excited even without the religion side of it. I'm a Christian but I enjoy visiting temples and mosques and enjoy their beauty and history and being respectful of the culture and beliefs. Imagine if he's in Israel and make insulting remarks on the holy sites during the trip with other tourists. You all might get into trouble with other tourists or even officials. Leave him be and enjoy the trip. Don't let him ruin a beautiful trip. Sounds like your son has suddenly found some free time to go to Japan. Alone. On his own dime. Israel's founder was an open atheist. They put up a statue of him. It might be a very fitting trip for him. YTA. Not the asshole. It's possible to be an atheist without being a total dick. Your son just hasn't realized it yet, I guess. Ironically, I have a slightly similar experience. I'm not religious but culturally Jewish. I had the chance to take a free birthright trip to Israel, but chose not to go because I disagree with the program's premise and mission. Now that I'm too old to qualify for the program, I deeply regret it. It's all very well having the courage of your convictions and sticking to your guns or whatever, but sometimes that just means you miss out. Bummer. Am I the asshole for not thinking of my bridesmaid's feelings when buying a wedding dress? I, 27F, got engaged this year. Afterward, a friend, bridesmaid, 22F. Let's call her Evelyn, suggested going dress shopping when 2 other friends would be in town visiting from CA. The out-of-town friends asked to make the APPT on Thursday at 3 p.m. since they were WFH. My work is flexible and Evelyn also agreed. Days before the APPT, Evelyn sends a text that she won't be able to make it anymore. This bridal salon, and most others, closed by 5 or 6 on weekdays. The 4 of us were traveling on Friday, so Thursday was the only time that worked for the girls visiting from out of town. Evelyn had also attended my first wedding dress APPT a few weeks prior. At the APPT, I of course wasn't looking at my phone since it was in the dressing room while trying on dresses. Eventually, I find a dress that I really love. At some point, Evelyn texted in a group text asking for an update. The friend who is a bridesmaid let's call her Nina, sent a photo and said, "We may have found the dress." Evelyn's response was, "Interesting. I end up buying the dress." The four of us, including Evelyn, had plans 3 hours later to all hang out. I was excited to show her my dress when she got there and tell her that I did buy it. When she got to my house, the first thing she said was, "Did you buy a dress?" And I excitedly told her yes. She didn't get excited and just stared at me for like 5–10 secs. I half-jokingly said, "What? Are you mad I bought a dress when you weren't there?" And she said, "Yeah, I am. Hope you guys have fun tonight," and left my house. Within 10 minutes, she texts me saying things like, "I'm so fucking pissed at you. If you thought I wouldn't be upset about this, you're out of your damn mind. There are other people's feelings that count. Get a fucking grip, Bridezilla." She came back over, and she cried and yelled at me and continued to tell me that I was selfish because I wasn't thinking about her while trying on my wedding dress. That I was selfish for not thinking about my other bridesmaids, my sisters, my mom, etc. She started to rank my friends, and created a hierarchy of my bridesmaids, and told me that it's fucked up that I bought a wedding dress with Nina and a friend who isn't a bridesmaid. She also told me that the wedding dress was the one thing she really cared about, and she couldn't care less about any other thing about my wedding. For rest of the weekend, we put aside our differences and we were able to get along. But now that the weekend is over, I can't stop thinking of all of this. She's still putting blame on me for what happened last week, and I'm seriously considering getting rid of her as a bridesmaid, but I also know that that would end the friendship we have. She hasn't acted like this before, and I know that part of the reason she acted this way is because she's insecure about how close I am with Nina and feels threatened. Am I the asshole for not thinking about her, or anyone other than myself and my fiancé, when buying a wedding dress? Not the asshole. I flat out tell her to get over herself now or to forget my number. She suggested to shop for dresses. Also, prior you had already shopped for dresses with her. She cancelled. Now she calls you a bridezilla because she wasn't there when you bought the dress? She couldn't just be happy and excited for you? Question. Why do you call this woman your friend? Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Your friend is crazy. Buying a wedding dress is all about you and no one else. You don't have to share that experience with anyone, or you can share it with whomever you want. You are not selfish for not thinking about her. It's your experience, not hers. Not the asshole. Get rid of her. Please remove her from your bridesmaids. She needs a serious reality check, and I promise she will ruin the vibe on your wedding day. You deserve better, girl. Am I the asshole for yelling at my parents for making fun of my brother's weight? Context. I, 23 female, have a little brother, 10, and I've been struggling with body issues and eating disorders on and off since I was 14. My relationship with my brother has always been very close, and I feel incredibly protective over him. Last weekend, I went to the beach with my parents and my brother to spend a nice day together since I'm in college and I don't get to see them a lot. I have a good relationship with my parents, although we've been through some very rough patches. I've always been skinny, but when I was 14 I started gaining a lot of weight because of stress, depression and puberty in general. My mom never missed the opportunity to throw in a comment, jokingly, about how wide my hips or thighs were, how I needed to lose weight, hit the gym, and everything of the sort. I never answered and acted like I didn't care, but I gradually started losing weight over the years, and even that didn't stop me from being on the receiving end of my mom's comments. So here's where my brother comes in. He's always been a happy child, and I've always made sure to be there for him as much as I can because I refuse to have him go through what I went through. He's very tall, and he's always eaten a lot for his age, but he's also very energetic, which has kept him in a perfect weight for his age. This, of course, doesn't stop my mom from throwing the occasional comment his way. I've heard her calling him fatty, telling him that his hips were too wide because he didn't fit in his clothes from the year prior, something totally normal for a child who is growing. And when I've called her out, I've always gotten the, "Don't worry, it's all lovingly." Once she made my brother cry and I lost my shit. I told her to stop making these unnecessary comments and that she would eventually make my brother hate his own body. She laughed it off and moved on. Fast forward to this weekend on the beach. My brother and I were getting ready to go swim, when my mother said something like, "James, you really need to start losing weight. Look how wide your hips have gotten." I flipped out again and started saying that she should take a good look at herself before trying to criticize other people for their weight, especially if it's her children's. She's always had body issues as well, but rather with being too skinny, and I also told her that she made me hate my body for the last 9 years of my life because of her comments. She was very surprised and aggravated, and started telling me that I always make everything about myself. We left the beach early and my father texted me later to tell me I ruined a perfect family day, that I made my mother very upset, and that I need to learn to keep my mouth shut sometimes. My mother is not a bad person, but sometimes she takes her stupid jokes too far and doesn't realize that her words hurt. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. That honor goes to your mom, who absolutely needs to be called out on her behavior so she doesn't do to your brother what she did to you. Not the asshole. You're not the person who ruined the day, and the fact that perfect to your father means your mother being insulting to the both of you. You being afraid to bring up serious harm that she's done, and everyone just pretending it's not happening. Well, that says a lot that he called that perfect. Not the asshole. Given your past experience, it's comprehensible the way you responded. This type of comments on young person can lead to a lot of serious mental and physical problems if not confronted in the right way. I think you are right about the fact that you should have talked calmly to your family, but sometimes strong emotion can get out the worst of us. From what I understand of your family, they are not the unreasonable type, so I think that you can all get together to calmly talk about this event and understand each other's feeling. Not the asshole. Your mom needs to learn what a healthy joke, and love, actually is, and your dad needs to stop enabling her toxic behavior and gaslighting you in the process. Not the asshole. My parents do this to me every time I visit. I've already told them to quit it. I am aware of health issues related to certain fats. I am aware that I can have those. But I am also not obese and work out daily. It's dieting that I don't do because life is too short for kale mom.